All right, let's talk about project organization. This is one of those ounce of prevention saves a pound of pain kind of situations. Um, to start out, here's our data course. In code examples, I've got a directory called example project. And this is kind of an idealized version of a project organization. So this is kind of how I strive to set up everything each time. All right, I'm going to look at this. Let's see. Data course, code examples, example project. So you'll see that this is a Git repository that we're looking at. Okay. So let's take a look. What's in git ignore? RProject user dot RProject user dot R-History dot R-Data dot R-User data. Okay, so any of these files that R-Studio is going to generate to kind of keep track of itself, I don't want those. Those can lead to kind of tricky situations when you're pushing and pulling to GitHub. Okay. Excuse me. All right. So this is what it looks like. I've got my R project file. I've got filename.rds. 1, 2, 3. Clean data, explore data, make figures. And then in R, I've got something called functions. Right. So there's my functions script. Where was I? Back to it. All right. Then I've got a folder for my data, a cleaned version and a raw version. Okay. So as you can expect, this script here is going to take my raw data, it's gonna clean it, and it's gonna write out a cleaned version. So that's what we were seeing right there. Script number 2, exploring the data. Your scripts don't have to be these particular things, it's just nice to break them up. Or I'm loading tidyverse, and then there's that source that we talked about. So if I'm saying source or functions, it's going to say no. How come? Well, it's because I'm in a different R project. Git repositories, data course, code examples, example project. So I need to open that R project in order for any of these relative file paths to work. Explore data. There, now it worked. And so when I said source, my R directory O1 functions R, it gave me everything that was in that script. So now I have a new function that I had written. All right. This one's loading the clean data, exploring it, making some plots. Great. Okay. And then this one is making figures. So it's loading the clean data, figure 1, and then there it is, saving it in figs. All right. And so what all this is doing is kind of keeping my project clean and understandable. All right. Also got a README. Okay. This is explaining what all this stuff is. Since this is a Git repository, we can stick it up on GitHub. Alright, so I'm going to use this guy here, Chris Wall. If you look up here, he's got really nice examples of how to organize data. So github.com/cvwall will take you right to his page. I'm going to click on his repositories, and let's see, where is it? Coral larva, temp, and nutrients. Great. Alright, so here's his Git repository for this particular project he was working on. So he's got his R project, He's got an RMD and an HTML, and then a README. GitHub is automatically showing us the README. So this is it. He's explaining the goals of the project. He's telling you what files and folders are there and kind of explaining them. All right. And so here they are. In the data folder, we've got larval size.csv. All right. He's explaining, look at this, what all the different columns are. That is so nice. Thank you, Chris. That's lovely of you. All right, here's the figures, explaining what the figures are and what number they're going to be in the publication. All right, so I'm looking around at this and I see this HTML, and so I go, cool, let's check it out. Womp womp. It's not going to show it very easily. Okay, so what I can do is click on View Raw. Here's the HTML. It's redonkulous. He didn't write all this. This was generated by the R Markdown. All right. So I've pulled it up already, but basically you just type in HTML preview.github.io /, and then right after that you put the name up here. So I copy that, I type in HTTP, is it S or no? It's just HTML preview .github.io /, just type that right in front, and here it is. Alright, so he's done some neat stuff with this in his R Markdown, stuff we haven't talked about yet, but most of it's pretty similar. So this is showing all the results of his project, right? And it's the code included. As a matter of fact, he's kind of hidden his code under these little buttons. So if you want to see the code, you say show all code. Where'd it go? Ah, there it is. Alright, so you're showing all the code for each little step that he's putting in there. I'm going to go ahead and hide it for right now. Alright. Oh, there it is. Alright. So you can see why you may not want to show all your code, because that's a lot of stuff. So it's kind of neat that he's put these behind the little drop downs. I'm going to hide that. Okay. But this is a nice little project. It's showing all the output. He's got a nice little table of contents over here on the left. If you want to see how he did that, it's really pretty simple, because you know this was all done with a Markdown document. And there it is. So look at this Markdown, and you can see how he's written that HTML file. Right. But back to ours here. I like having data and some sort of output folder, and then some folder for my actual scripts and stuff that I'm using. As a matter of fact, it wouldn't be a bad idea to put these three into the R directory also, except if I do that I have to change file paths, so I'm not going to do it right now. You can see that I've got HTMLs as well. Alright, and here's my final project. It's not as pretty as Chris's, but yeah, I'll live with it. Okay, so here I am just looking at that ecolog data. That's it, final project. I kept this one really simple because I wanted it to be pretty understandable for you. Alright, so this is a slide from one of Jenny Bryan's talks. She works at R-Studio and does a lot of work there, and some of her focus is on this idea of a project-oriented workflow. If the first line of your script is set working directory to path that only I have, she or somebody else is going to come into your office and set your computer on fire. All right. We've talked about this a bit in class. It's just not portable, but something you may want to Google is Jenny Bryan project-oriented workflow. It should bring up this. Let's see here. Yep, Jenny Bryan project-based workflow. Boom, that's the first hit. All right. Definitely read through this. This is talking about why we use R-Studio and in particular our projects. Okay, why we don't use set working directory. Okay, so this is a really nice kind of overview to look at. All right, back to Chris Wall's page, and the reason I'm using him, not just because he's a nice dude, is because in his repositories he's given something for you, the student. All right, he's got an R Markdown project about making R Markdown projects. So intro to R Markdown. Okay, and even this project is set up really nicely, right, with data and figures. Okay, so the easiest thing to do to get a glimpse at this is to click on his little PDF. Right. So here it is. It's a nice intro to R Markdown, and he goes into more depth than we've actually covered yet in class. Okay, so a lot of the common options, that sort of thing, how to set up your chunks, text formatting, how to put code chunks in there, embed figures, and different options for how to play with those figures and change the way that they're set up. All right. So this is a nice little document, and if you want to see how I made it, again, just go to the RMD, so that's the underlying code for that PDF file, and look through it.